Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a look at NVIDIA's 2024 annual report.
Oh, yeah,
It's packed with insights into their vision for the future of AI and accelerated computing.
for sure.
And we'll be covering their thoughts on the new industrial revolution that everyone's talking about, driven by generative AI.
Yeah.
And we'll also peek into their financials, their sustainability efforts, and also get a glimpse at their game-changing Blackwell chip.
It's pretty remarkable stuff.
Ready to uncover some serious insights.
Let's do it. This report is way more than just your typical corporate update.
Yeah, it's like they're giving us a sneak peek into the future they're building.
Exactly.
Speaking of the future, let's talk about this new industrial revolution they keep mentioning.
Yeah.
They're saying that generative AI and accelerated computing are going to reshape industries worth $100 trillion.
It's a bold claim for sure.
It's a mind-boggling number.
But when you start to think about the potential impact of generative AI across different sectors, it starts to make a bit more sense.
Like, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Imagine if drug discovery could be sped up, because researchers could virtually test billions of chemical compounds
Whoa.
in a fraction of the time it takes today.
That would be revolutionary for the medical field.
Absolutely. Think of the medical breakthroughs we could see.
And it's not just healthcare.
Right.
They mention climate scientists using it to model tens of thousands of weather patterns in seconds. More accurate storm predictions could save lives.
Exactly. And those are just two examples. And the possibilities really are endless.
Right.
NVIDIA sees this as a huge shift, similar to the Industrial Revolution powered by electricity.
Okay.
They compare their AI supercomputers to the power plants of that era,
Interesting.
basically saying that they're manufacturing intelligence
Wow.
in the form of tokens or numbers.
So instead of generating electricity, these supercomputers are generating intelligence.
Yes,
That's powering this new wave of innovation.
a very compelling analogy.
It is. They're providing the infrastructure and the tools to make AI dreams a reality.
Right.
And speaking of tools, let's talk about Blackwell, their new chip architecture.
Yeah.
They're calling it a massive leap forward.
And they're not exaggerating.
I was reading about their B200 Tensor Core GPU. Over 208 billion transistors on a single chip.
It's hard to even fathom that many transistors.
It's more transistors than stars in the Milky Way.
It really is an incredible feat of engineering.
It is.
But the exciting part is what those transistors mean for performance.
Right. They're claiming 30 times faster AI inference, 4 times faster training, and a 25 times reduction in cost and energy consumption.
Yeah, compared to their previous generations.
Huge improvements.
Yeah, for those who might not be familiar with those terms,
Yes, please explain.
think of training as teaching an AI model to do a specific task,
Okay.
like recognizing images or translating languages. Inference is when the AI actually performs that task. So faster training means researchers can develop new AI models much quicker.
Okay.
And faster inference means those models can operate in real time,
Makes sense.
making them suitable for a wider range of applications.
So Blackwell speeds up both the development and deployment of AI,
Precise.
and the reduced cost and energy consumption are also big factors.
Absolutely. It makes AI more accessible and sustainable in the long run.
All this excitement around AI and NVIDIA was on full display at their GTC conference this year.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when GTC used to fit in a hotel ballroom?
Right.
This year, they needed the San Jose Convention Center and the SAP Center.
It was massive. Over 19,000 people there in person,
Wow.
and close to 300,000 joined virtually.
It seems like NVIDIA is becoming synonymous with AI.
I think it's a fair assessment. They're definitely seen as a leader in the field.
Now, for their financials, NVIDIA had a really explosive year.
For sure.
Revenue soared by 126% to reach $60.9 billion.
That's incredible.
The operating income and net income saw amazing growth as well.
It's clear the demand for their products is strong.
They're riding the wave of this technological revolution.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that their report isn't just about the financials.
Right.
They also dedicate a good amount of space to corporate governance and sustainability.
It's worth noting that their corporate governance structure emphasizes transparency and accountability.
They've got all the standard committees in place, audit, compensation, nominating, and corporate governance, all working to make sure things are run properly.
And their sustainability efforts are also worth highlighting.
Absolutely.
They're actively assessing and managing climate risks throughout their product lifecycle.
They've committed to improving energy efficiency and sourcing renewable energy.
It's good to see them taking those environmental and social responsibilities seriously.
It shows they're thinking about the long-term impact of their actions.
For sure.
And that actually leads us nicely into the next section of their report, which is focused on human capital management.
This is where we see how they view their employees.
Yeah.
And they're very upfront about recognizing them as their most valuable asset.
They boast a remarkably low turnover rate of just 2.7%.
That's almost unheard of in the tech world, especially with all the competition for talent these days.
What's their secret?
Well, they highlight their efforts in recruitment, development, and retention.
Okay.
They invest a lot in training, mentoring programs, and initiatives for diversity and inclusion.
So they're not just hiring people.
Right.
They're investing in their employees' growth.
Yeah, and creating a supportive environment
That makes sense.
where people want to stay and build their careers.
Well, before we dive deeper into those topics, let's take a quick pause. We're back. And before the break, we were talking about NVIDIA's approach to human capital management. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, it's a real highlight for sure.
Like, they talk about attracting top talent globally.
Right.
But what stood out to me was how much they focus on building a strong employer brand.
It's not just about offering competitive salaries. It's about creating a culture that people want to be a part of.
Exactly. And they're not just looking for any talent.
Right.
They want a very specific type of employee. They mentioned that almost half of their workforce holds advanced degrees.
Wow. That's a highly educated group.
It is. It makes sense when you consider the type of work they do.
Sure.
They need the best and brightest.
And they figured out how to find them.
Yeah. How do they do that?
Well, they talk about the importance of employee referrals.
Okay.
And it seems like a lot of their new hires come through that channel.
To me, that's a sign of a healthy work environment.
Absolutely.
When people are happy enough to recommend the company to their friends and colleagues.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about attracting talent.
Right.
It's about keeping them engaged and motivated. NVIDIA seems to understand that.
So what kind of things are they doing?
Well, they talked about continuous learning and development, offering training programs, mentoring, even tuition reimbursement.
So they're investing in their employees' futures.
Exactly.
It's a win-win.
For sure, the employees gain new skills and NVIDIA gets a more skilled workforce.
And they encourage internal mobility, too.
Oh, yeah. Allowing employees to try different roles and keep things interesting.
It all points to a company that really values its people.
Absolutely.
And their efforts are paying off.
It seems so.
Remember that incredibly low turnover rate?
2.7% right.
Yeah, it's practically unheard of in the tech world.
It's a testament to their approach.
It really is.
It's not just about throwing money at the problem.
Right.
It's about creating a culture where people feel valued.
Okay, let's shift gears a little and talk about their approach to risk management.
Okay.
They have a whole section dedicated to it in the report.
Yeah, their enterprise risk management process.
And it looks pretty thorough.
It is. They have a very systematic approach.
So they're not just winging it.
Definitely not. They identify, assess, and mitigate potential risks.
And they do this annually.
Yeah, they evaluate their risk environment.
Taking into account all the different factors that could affect their business.
Both internal and external factors, exactly.
They emphasized incorporating risk assessment into their strategic planning process.
Which makes sense. You can't plan for the future without considering potential problems.
And their board of directors is also involved?
Right, especially the audit committee.
They make sure NVIDIA has controls in place.
Yeah, to mitigate financial and operational risks.
So it's not just one department handling risk management.
No, it seems to be baked into the company culture.
That's impressive.
It is, especially in such a fast-paced industry.
One risk they specifically addressed is their dependence on a few customers and suppliers.
Right, a valid concern.
A significant portion of their revenue comes from a small group of customers.
And they rely heavily on a few key suppliers, too.
It makes them vulnerable.
It does. If they lose a major customer or supplier, it could hurt their financials.
So how are they handling that?
They're working on diversifying their customer base and supplier network.
But that's easier said than done.
True, especially with a few big companies controlling the market.
It'll be interesting to see how they navigate that.
Yeah, it's definitely something to watch.
Another risk they mentioned is the rapid pace of technological change.
It's a double-edged sword for sure.
On one hand, it drives innovation.
Yeah, but it also means constant investment in research and development.
They can't afford to fall behind.
If they don't keep up with the advancements,
They risk being overtaken by competitors.
it's a constant race to stay ahead.
But NVIDIA seems up for the challenge.
Yeah, you can see that in their R&D spending.
But they're also realistic about the future.
Right. No guarantees of success.
They spent a good deal of time talking about intellectual property.
Yeah, protecting their own IP and navigating the complex world of patents.
It's a minefield.
They have a huge portfolio of patents.
But it's a constant battle to protect them.
They also have to be careful not to infringe on someone else's IP.
It's a balancing act for sure.
That's it.
And then there's the issue of geopolitical tensions.
Oh, yeah, big one these days.
Especially with the growing focus on AI and its potential in areas like national security.
Governments are being more careful about exporting advanced tech.
And that affects NVIDIA directly.
It does. Government regulations could restrict their sales in certain markets.
It creates a lot of uncertainty for them.
It does. They have to be strategic with their global sales.
Cybersecurity is another concern for them.
A big one for any company.
But especially for one developing cutting-edge technologies.
They're a prime target for hackers.
They've implemented a comprehensive cybersecurity program.
It's good, but no system is perfect.
They have to be constantly vigilant.
Absolutely. Always updating and investing in security.
A major breach could be devastating.
Yeah. Damage their reputation, disrupt operations, expose sensitive data.
It's a lot to manage.
But they seem to be on top of it.
They're not just hoping for the best.
They're planning for the worst.
Taking steps to weather any storm.
Now, before we move on to their corporate governance structure.
Yes, let's. All right, we're back. And you know, one thing that really impressed me in this report is their commitment to engaging with public policy.
Yeah, it's clear they understand that the technology they're developing has big implications for everyone.
It's not just about business for them.
No, they're thinking about the bigger picture, for sure.
They talked about advocating for policies that support investment in AI research.
Right, that's crucial for the field to keep moving forward.
And they also emphasize the need for workforce development in AI.
Yeah, we need people who can actually use these technologies.
Exactly. It's one thing to build it, but you need the skilled workforce to utilize it effectively.
And they're not just focused on the technical side either.
Right.
They want to make sure AI is developed responsibly.
So ethical considerations are important to them.
Yeah, using these powerful technologies for good, not just for profit.
I found their discussion about educating policymakers on AI really interesting.
Yeah, it's such a complex topic.
There's a lot of misinformation out there.
For sure. So having companies like NVIDIA provide accurate information is important.
It's vital for informed policymaking.
It's not just about lobbying.
Right.
It's about creating a dialogue between the tech world and the people making the rules.
Overall, I'm impressed with how proactive NVIDIA is in the public policy debate.
Yeah, they're not just sitting on the sidelines.
They're actively shaping the conversation about AI.
And that's important. As AI becomes more common, we need more companies like NVIDIA.
Companies willing to embrace both innovation and responsibility.
Exactly. Companies that understand that progress needs to come with ethical considerations.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
I want to touch on their corporate governance structure.
Yeah, they go into a lot of detail about their board of directors.
It's fascinating how they've structured things to ensure transparency.
And accountability, too.
One thing that stands out is that their board is entirely independent,
Except for the CEO, of course.
which is considered a best practice to avoid conflicts of interest.
Right. It helps the board provide objective oversight.
And they have a strong independent lead director as well,
Yeah, they play a key role in keeping things balanced.
making sure no single person has too much power.
And of course, they have the standard committees, too.
Audit, compensation, nominating, and corporate governance.
All making sure things are running smoothly.
It's a robust system, and their commitment to transparency is clear.
Yeah, they get that good governance is key for building trust.
It's not just about checking boxes either.
Right, they're committed to constant improvement
They're always reviewing their practices.
and engaging with shareholders to get feedback.
It's encouraging to see a company like NVIDIA taking this so seriously.
It sets a good example for the industry.
It shows that strong governance is important for ethical and sustainable business.
So as we wrap up our look at NVIDIA's 2024 annual report,
It's been quite a journey.
we've covered a lot. Their vision for the future,
Their commitment to their employees,
their approach to risk,
their stance on public policy.
and their strong corporate governance.
It's clear that they're more than just a tech company.
They're thinking about the impact of their work on the world.
And making sure their innovations are used ethically.
They're not just building the future of AI, they're helping to shape it.
And that's a responsibility they don't take lightly.
It's been great diving into this with you.
Thanks for joining me. And to everyone listening, until next time, keep exploring
Keep learning.
and keep asking those tough questions.